Welcome back to another episode of Sandbox Sessions. I'm one of your co-hosts, Rachael. I'm all things operations here at Recess.
My name is Taylor. I'm one of the co-founders here at Recess.
Evan, co-founder of Recess.
Today on the podcast, we have resident, registered, and licensed dietitian Jace Rhoden. He is the founder of Fit for Him. He is also a sports nutritionist. Jace, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Jace, like I said, is our resident dietitian here at Recess Fitness Club. It's been a really cool program and organic relationship to start, which is a lot of how the branches at Recess, that's kind of how they start organically here. Members in the gym, they're passionate about the brand and what we're doing, and it's kind of how things came to be through some stuff with Recess RX and your involvement in that program. I think some of your clients were kind of excited about it, and then Ian had reached out to me and let me know, like, hey, I got this great guy, Jace, and I connected the dots. Like, oh, that's Jace in the gym.
Yeah.
And here we are today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been great. It was, like you said, very, very easy to slide into when I met Ian, and then he reached out to you, and it just happened pretty quick, and it was simple. And so that lines up that well, it's hard not to keep going to the door. So here we are.
Yeah, we're happy to have you here. Feel super lucky. You've got a super cool story, a very robust resume and background. Let's hop into
Before we jump into the story, can you talk about what each one of these acronyms after your name
There's a lot
means?
Yeah.
3 of them.
Yeah.
Got those. I'm trying to add a few more to it too, so we'll see. But the MS is just my master's in nutrition, in sports nutrition specifically. So, and even now, dietitians are required to have a master's now. And when I got my license, you didn't have to have that. But I knew I wanted a sports focus, so I went back to school for my master's just to get that on its own. And then the RDLD is registered and licensed dietitian, where you get licensed through the state of Texas, and then you're registered through the Academy of Dietetics. So once you pass your boarding exam, then you get registered. So those are all, you get RDLD kind of at the same time by passing your exam. And that allows you to actually work in hospitals in the clinical setting.
Got it.
You're also working on your
CSCS and my CSSD, which is the Certified Sports Specialist in Dietetics, where then I'd be a licensed sports dietitian.
Okay,
So that's one
outstanding.
step. You have to have like 2,000 hours of the clinical experience to even sit for that exam. So that's a whole other one, but which I have a lot more than that, so it's all good. Yeah.
And then the CSCS, conditioning and strength.
Yep, strength conditioning specialist.
Cool.
Yeah, I just see that, of course, as if you're going to be a trainer, I'd rather go for the best I can get, and that would be the CSCS.
Yeah.
So I'm going to shoot for that and be able to program anybody.
Yeah.
You worked with people from just kind of like everyday clients, like all the way up to like an elite athlete level, like the Dallas Stars. Can you kind of give like a little bit of like an overview, abstract of like what it is that you do and what that looks like?
Yeah, so like you said, it's broad. I have anybody from the normal person wanting to lose 30, 40 pounds that isn't even working out or moving yet, to the athletes that are more so need to stay stable in weight and just improve performance, where the scale doesn't matter as much, but if the performance improves or declines, that's when we take note. So it's more of meeting them where they're at and assessing their needs as an individual, and then from there we set up goals together based on those principles and say, okay, you should focus on these things based on your own needs and your body and what's going on with your goal in mind. And it's very specific to them.
There's a lot of different, diet myths. There's all kinds of different, what am I doing wrong? What's working? Even as a trainer, I know, I can't really give diet advice. So it's great to have you here, have a dietitian, someone that so often through my time as a trainer, I would have people say, like, I'm gonna go talk to a dietitian, and I was like, dang, I didn't have any good referrals. Mm-hmm. So it's really cool to have you here in-house and be able to now have someone that we all vet and know that we get to work by and see work out with, and that a dietitian that, because there's maybe also dietitians that don't really care about their fitness to the level that you do.
Yeah.
And really understand working out and the performance side of it. So that's a really cool, synergistic, I think, relationship that we have with our trainers, and having you here and all things considered.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, I appreciate that, and I think you're right. I've met a lot of dietitians that, in my mind, and trainers the same, just because you were saying nice to have someone to refer to that they know how to do it, and they're a billboard for themselves, whether that's in training or nutrition or all of it together. If you don't look the part, if I don't come to you in training and say that's how I want to look, then I'm not going to go to you anyway. So I think having both sides of that I think we do well together is awesome.
Yeah.
Could you speak more to maybe who could benefit from using a dietitian? I think there's like a lot of, like Taylor was saying, there's a lot of nutrition information out there on the internet. Yes. Obviously not all of it is credible. I remember when we were even in the beginning stages of kind of like bringing you on board, explaining to Taylor kind of some of the differences between like the scope of like someone who's nutrition coach certified, like myself and many other trainers, and then all the way up to, I'm allowed to suggest things, right? But I can't really like advise or prescribe things, whether that be supplements or food intake or whatever it is. So who are people that might need that extra help?
Yeah, great question. And I get that a lot too. It's like, what's the difference in what you do versus a nutrition coach? And never to take away from what they can do, because I think there's a lot of good ones out there, and some of it may just be the piece of, I don't want to go back to school for 3 years. Like that's a fair response. But it's more about, to me, is I think I'm better capable to handle the nutrition and overall health and even the mental and emotional side, because we get training for that as well, kind of the therapy side of things, tied into weight loss and health and performance. Because it's not always just, here's a nutrition plan, here's what to eat, and good luck. It's a combination of, but how do these make you feel? How does the scale actually make you feel? Is that scary to you? Then don't hop on it. And then as far as just, you can't just bully them to see results. You can't just say, well, you got to do it because we have to have results. It's like, no, there's appropriate steps to take when it's actually becoming a mental disorder, or they've had a history of eating disorder. Like and that's where we get trained. I see myself as different, is we're more trained to handle that. Not as deep as into an actual therapist goes, but that's part of what our job is. So that's the biggest piece, I think, that separates us.
It's the behavioral element.
It has to be.
That's awesome.
But then the other answer too is just, I think I'm more capable in some aspects of handling just a much broader clientele with the sports side tied into there as well, of whether it is weight loss or building muscle and recomp or performance. If you're an athlete, then my experience would show and my license would show I'm able to handle all of that.
In my super limited experience, I think that's one of the things that sets you apart, is like a lot of dietitians are in that kind of like clinical setting. Maybe they're working with, overweight, kids or adults or people that have, eating disorders. But I haven't met anybody else personally that focuses so much on like the performance side of it, and that combo of, sports and nutrition and performance, conglomerate, which is awesome. Yeah,
that makes it fun when you can actually tie into, hey, you should try these loading and recovery measures and these stress management pieces to help with performance and sleep. And you tie everything in together, and then they see a difference. That's awesome.
A lot of like being in the personal trainer industry for the last however long it's been. I remember like having clients who thought, they would look at like the trainers and think that perhaps, that they had a edge up, from like genetics or like something else, right? That it's easy to look at you and be like, this guy was born like a Greek god, and he's like he's meant to look this way, and it's probably easy for him and all these things. But you were actually 90 pounds in high school, right? Mm-hmm. Which is wild to me. Yeah. I mean, looking at you now, so did that come with any kind of insecurity? Did that insecurity turn into like some motivation? Did that any part of your life, like now can you see reflecting back,
Yeah, for sure. And first, thank you for that. And it's fun to look back and see where I started and how far I've come. And I think there's been phases of all that, where I started, like you said, a freshman coming in around 90, 95 pounds, and I was like 5'3", 5'4", and tiny. And I mean, my parents aren't huge people. Genetically, they're small. And that's the piece too, is kind of what you were saying. I'm not genetically built to be big. If my body had its way, I'd be 170 pounds, and I don't like being that weight. So it was very much tied into an insecurity of just being a boy, a male, and when you're in a small town, all you get to do is sports with your friends, and you're not big enough to feel like you're good enough. And that was a pretty deep insecurity of my performance and my size and my height and everything. And I worked my butt off for every year, every summer, and I was the kid that would stay after and train on my own, or get on the field and do sprints with the sled. And I was that guy that did that. And there was a few of us that would do it together, but more often than not, it was me getting in the gym by myself, because like, I have to get big. I'm not big enough to perform, and I don't like it. And I remember when bodybuilding.com was getting really big, and I would get on there and look up nutrition stuff and workouts and how to get faster and how to jump higher. And I would have like a little binder, just of stuff that I printed off that I'd go through and read, and I'd talk to my dad, and I was thankful I had that kind of support at home. I told him I got to gain weight. He's like, okay, let's do it. And it was making breakfast and waffles, and then a 2,000 calorie shake, and then packing an extra sandwich or two for meals after lunch, and then coming home, eating a huge dinner, and then having another shake before bed, and then probably 6,000 calories a day on average.
Yeah.
And
it's not easy.
It is a freaking job.
Yeah.
But it's nice having that support. I've had a few clients that are 13, 14 years old, like, no, I have to cook my own meals. I'm like, holy cow, I can't imagine not having that kind of support. But that insecurity, one of the phases I went through was probably an addiction of, I got into, even on vacation, I'd be doing push-ups and sit-ups, and it was too much. And looking back, like, that was just dumb. And it's a misunderstanding of where growth happens and all that kind of stuff that we can get into later. But yeah, it was very much an insecurity, but it shaped me now. And I remember going into senior year in football, I was finally 140 pounds, and like, that was the biggest I'd been, obviously, by then. Gaining like 40, 50 pounds in 5 years of hard work, or 4 years of hard work, that was exciting. And I walk in after summer, and I work out with the college around in town on the summers with their strength coach, and I come back into high school, and coach is like, dang, Rhoden, you got bigger. You're going to outside linebacker. It's like, crap, that's not where I wanted to be, but it was fun, and I loved it. And it is great, and a blessing now being able to look back and say, this is where I've come. But yeah, in no way is this genetics. This is, goodness, 25 years of consistency in the gym and eating and being very intentional with everything, and learning along the way of what's the appropriate do. How do you fuel? How do you recover? When should you take time off? And it's been phases of learning how to do it better and better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's awesome.
So you've obviously been doing this for a long time, and you've talked a little bit about how you didn't have the best balance at one point, and you'd taken it too far on one side of the pendulum. But I know a lot of what you do is also working with people to create more sustainability in this culture that has all these fad diets. People want these fast results, but they don't always, love the time and the process and the work that goes into getting those results. What was your switch, in that long process? Or do you feel like there is a switch for people to fall in love with the process?
Yeah. I think for me, the switch was when I got so busy that my exercise, it had to become more of a very intentional, carved out staple of my day. And it can never be an option to not do it. I think for people in this setting, that when it is your lifestyle, it's a schedule. It's part of your day, and it has to be there, at least rearranged to fit in during the week on an average. But that switch for me was when I was working, I think 4 or 5 different jobs at a time. And I was like, okay, if I can fit in 3 sessions a week and make the most of it. And then even though I didn't see a bunch of growth and strength, I still saw progress. I still saw maintenance, which to me is progress. And when you're that busy and that stressed. And I think that switch was like, oh, I don't have to be in here 2 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week. And then getting deeper into my own education of just the obvious piece of muscle is grown when you're resting, not when you're in the gym. You break it down, and anything really over an hour and a half especially is not contributing to growth. It's contributing to stress and breakdown. If you don't have the right pieces in to recover, you're not going to grow. So yeah, that switch for me was there. And then I think with most people, like you were saying, the most common one I see is they come to me with the current culture and the fad diet and the social media stuff they're pushing of, you have to do all these things and do all of them at your most, and you have to stretch, and you have to feel worn out to have results, and you have to feel a certain way to see the progress you want. And I'll get people that come to me of, well, I wasn't seeing results, so I'm working out 7 days a week, or I'm doing 2 a day, 6 days a week, and I'm eating 1,200 calories a day. It's like, our first step is creating balance and healthy and homeostasis, if you want to put it that way, of just let's make everything calm down and feel safe. Let's give your body the ability to actually recover. And then we'll say, great, let's go to working out 3 days a week and 1 low intensity day of cardio and increase your calories slowly. This is all over a few weeks. So let's do this a bit and take everything down. And then they feel better. And then they're like, oh, I've actually lost a couple pounds and I'm not doing as much. And then for them, that switch tends to flip of, I don't have to push my limits and push the extremes of everything across the board at the same time to see results. That's how you end up having a crash diet. It's more about doing this and building slowly consistency.
Yeah.
Jace, I think you were on track for a totally different career path at one point. What made you pause and say that this isn't what I'm called to do?
Yeah, I think what you just said was probably the right word. Of I wasn't called to do that. I think I was chasing at the time what I saw as financial stability and a good career in a small town where I could be an orthopedic surgeon. PA was my goal. And
I was going to be nosy and ask. And I'm like, wait, what was it?
Physician assistant. So I was going to be a PA. Right. And so I got my first degree in biology on that pre-med track, and then wanted to be a PA. So I went and worked in the medical field doing medical sales for 2 or 3 years in Abilene. And one of my clients was the biggest orthopedic group in Abilene. So I had 4 of those doctors and up there all the time. And they're all great guys. And at one point one of them was like, hey, whenever you go get your PA license, come back and we'll have a job. We have a spot for you somewhere. So it was nice having that kind of promise to look forward to, or at least some kind of job somewhere. I knew I was going to be okay. And I had a friend at Harding, and I had an interview set up, and I was going to go visit their campus in person. And I didn't even end up applying the second year. And it's just like, no, something doesn't feel right, because I was trying to keep nutrition and fitness and health as kind of a side project. And I saw other friends that were that kind of growing up into your real adult years, and I saw how getting a career started will make your hobbies become less and less if you don't have that balance, and that scared me. And I'm like, man, I don't want to be the guy that stops working out or stops taking care of myself or gets fat. And also knowing how passionate I was about health and nutrition and fitness, I had to spend a lot of time in prayer and with family of like, should I be doing this? And I ended up sending an email out to my very close friends and my family of, here's my situation. Do I stay on the same path and just come back to Abilene and I'm safe and I'm stable and I've got a good career and I'm probably set for life and I'm okay? And I'll still be very happy, but this has to become a side piece and I may not have time for that anymore. Or do I change career paths and go back to be a sports dietitian and a strength coach for a professional sports team? And that was my exact wording, was pro sports team, do all these things. And every single person said, nope, go back. It's like, there we have it. And so, then that was very much a kind of always a funny God thing of when things seem to happen quicker than they should, and it becomes easy, because applying into a new school or any kind of program and accepting and getting started and getting funds, all that kind of stuff, it all was done in less than 2 weeks. Like, that's insane. And that doesn't happen. And there was not a single hiccup. And like, okay, we're going. And I just happened to do all that within a week and a half from the deadline of applying. And I applied and went up there and talked to those teachers and like, okay, cool. Yeah, we'll take you in. And it was just too easy. And so then we ended up here.
And then how soon after all that, where does the Dallas Stars fit into that? That was a cool intersection in your career path.
Very much so, and that was also a huge blessing where my mom remarried into a family where my step aunt worked for the Dallas Stars for 17, 18 years as their travel coordinator. And when I was a clinical dietitian, I started to get my master's in sports nutrition. I had to have an internship for my master's, and of course, I was like, I want to be involved in there. And she brought it up, and she's like, hey, do you want me to reach out to my guy at the Stars? I'm like, that won't happen, but go for it. Thank you. And the next week, I had a meeting set up with one of their guys who's still a good friend of mine who does their recruiting for younger players. And we sat down and had coffee, and it went well. Then I went up and I met their strength coach in person, Brad, and me and him we talked this week. Me and him are still good buddies. He's not even there anymore. But I went there, and he's like, cool, why don't you come hang out with the guys for a week? We have a development camp coming up where we're going to do testing, and you may even need to talk to them a little bit and do some kind of presentation. It'll be a week long. It'll be about 50, 60 hours. But if you want to come help out, we'll see how it goes. And it wasn't paid, just kind of hanging out. And I showed up, talked to the guys, and did my thing, helped him with strength training. And the last day he walked up, he's like, hey, here's some cash. The guys love you being here. They want you to come back. He's like, you're in. If the guys want you here, you're in. It's like, okay.
That's awesome.
So huge blessing falling into that. And then it was more of just continuing to go forward, I think, and trying to keep doing better with that and being kind of shifting my role, because they didn't have nutrition piece actually set up for them at the time. It was more of helping with strength training in the gym and providing some kind of nutrition support where it's just conversations or basic weight loss and weight gain and performance stuff, but nothing real set in stone yet. But as the time went on over the 8 years I was there, it progressed more into an actual title of performance nutritionist or dietitian, and then a whole performance team was set up, and it worked a lot better, and it was great.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was fun.
There's an old acronym, IIFYM, if it fits in your mouth, that used to be a big thing rolling around, and for like my understanding of that, for anyone who doesn't remember or recall or know what that is, it's basically saying that as long as you hit your macros, it doesn't matter what you're eating, right? So if you have if you're on a diet plan and it says you can have 250 grams of carbs, you could eat Pop-Tarts, and as long as you hit your macros, then it doesn't matter. What's your thoughts on if it fits in your mouth, and can you talk about it?
Yeah, man. And I've got a few different directions I go with that, because it tends to be a broad answer, because there's a guy that did a study on himself. He's a professor. I forgot, very, very good. I want to say Harvard or something, but he did a study where he called it the Twinkie diet. And y'all probably saw that one or heard of that, where all he did for, I think it was 90 days, was Twinkies, Oreos, and Doritos. That was it, and water or soft drink. And he put himself in about 800, 900 calorie deficit. So he was in a calorie deficit, but the food he ate was complete crap, where it fit what you're saying. IFYM, if it's your mouth, you can do it. If it's your macros, do it. And he did it. So his nutrition was controlled. It was just poor quality. But after 90 days, he lost 30 pounds. And every single blood marker, like LDL, HDL, cholesterol, triglycerides, everything improved.
Makes you wonder what he was eating before all that.
Right?
You can't get much worse than
if
that.
that was an improvement, what are you doing? Yeah. And I think if anything, that showed and confirmed the hierarchy of nutrition, which is the foundation has to be calories. If you hit those well, your body's going to adapt, usually in a positive way. And that showed true for him. Now, long term, those may trend back up a little bit, like you were saying, kind of leading to what was he doing before that was so bad, probably in excess of, and poor crap everywhere. But I think that shows you too how much even just a simple weight change can affect everything in a positive way. If you do lose 30 pounds, that'll make your body's not working as hard, and you have less issues with blood sugar and with blood pressure and cholesterol. So in that sense, it can be true that yes, that can help. If I would say it more of, if you have no self-control, but you have, as far as what foods you eat, but you can hit your calorie and macro goals, you can still have good success with your weight and blood markers for a time. But when it comes to fueling muscle and improving performance and feeling good, and probably seeing more substantial and the right kind of progress in your lab markers for long term, that's when you have to refer back to the hierarchy of nutrition again and say, okay, you got calories down, but now macros matter. And that's going to determine more of how you look. If you want to look more muscular and toned, if you want to build muscle, and then you have to get in micros, which is the food quality. Then you get into timing, loading, and recovery. Those pieces have to fall into place the right way. So I think if it fits your macros or fits in your mouth, I think that's a good foundation for just getting someone started that has no discipline and no history of eating well. And then from there you build on that through the hierarchy.
I think personally in my path to actually, eating vegetables and regularly, and, it started as me forcing myself to eat a certain thing, right? Because I needed greens in my life, or I needed, and I would tell myself, you can have that other thing, but get your greens in, first. So, I'm eating this plate of broccoli, and then I can go have whatever, whatever it is that I want. It was during that period that I started feeling different when I was eating these nutrient dense rich foods, right? And then it didn't become so much of a task anymore. It was I can feel the difference when I eat this versus when I eat that. And that was a turning point, pivotal point in my life where I was like, I started paying attention to how my body felt, not just like right when I'm eating something like sweet and tasty and whatever, and I feel great then, but like, how do I feel 30 minutes later? How do I feel an hour and a half later? How are my workouts like, and so, obviously like that, I'm sure you run into that a lot where people make, it's like that switch, right? Where you're like, you're turning on a new thing. Like, how does this food really make me feel?
Yes. Yeah, and that's the point I try to get every client to, where it's become a lifestyle and not just a diet. Diet is the short-term piece. There's no real lifestyle integration. It's more of, can I be controlled enough to do this to see short-term results? Like, sure, if you have discipline and you can control it tight enough, like 75 hard, same thing. That's all that is. It's not a lifestyle unless you are Goggins. Like that's insane. That's not a lifestyle. Yeah, for everyone, it can't be. But that flip tends to switch when they start looking at food based on how it makes them feel and how it serves their body versus what's fun and exciting, and it keeps me interested. Because one thing I refer to a lot of my clients is, if you look at anybody on social media especially that tends to be very fit and healthy year round, the biggest difference in them versus someone else that fluctuates a lot or is always on the yo-yo dieting is they've learned that, like you said, I eat because I know I feel better and I perform better, and I love this food now, and I genuinely do enjoy eating it because of how I feel. And they don't need, I hear a lot, oh, these meals aren't fun enough. I'm like, they're not supposed to, and I don't want to say they're not supposed to be fun, because they will be fun, and in that sense they're supposed to be someday, but for where you're at now, they're not, and that's okay. And then I have an approach that I do to fix that over a few weeks or a month of lifestyle approach. But yeah, when that switch is flipped of just try it for a few weeks and eat these things, and then be aware and assess of, how did I feel? How's my workout? How's my strength? How's my bloating? How's my mental clarity? Like, oh my gosh, I do feel it. Then usually I get a call of, oh man, I had pizza or a beer and I had pasta and I had whatever I used to have and I felt awful.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You just took a leap.
Yeah.
And it is really, to your point about, maybe it's not supposed to be fun. The more you work out, the more you kind of want to put your best foot forward into the diet and all the components that fit into like providing a better result along that path. And, I have had probably even most recently, like the weirdest mental shift lately, the past 3-4 months, from not being able to work out and having this this old voice speaking to me, still telling me to eat good things, but maybe not eat as much, and this other voice like, this doesn't matter, just eat whatever you want, who cares? And I found myself, going in the fridge and having like a Jenny's ice cream sandwich at night and having 2 packages of like gummy bears or whatever, and I'm just like, it is so weird right now, and like I have for the first time really understood the emotional aspects behind eating that like I didn't before, and like when I like sit back and after I eat that, I'm like, and I'm like, what just happened? Why did I do that? Am I happier that I did that? Do I feel good? No, I feel like gross. But I can do it again. I'll do it again tonight. So again, just to go back to your point, I think, maybe it's not fun eating the food starting out, but I know when I was working out every day, 5 days a week, that the food, like, it actually tasted really good to me. That really good, clean food, and like stuff that I'm eating now, I'd be like, what are you doing? So it's
frustrating. Yeah, when you're stuck in a spot like you, where it's forced due to an injury, and because now it feels like a piece of who you are, you're not allowed to do anymore. And so then it's kind of like what the hell? Why am I trying so hard to be perfect? And I'm not building muscle anyway, so why am I going to go eat chicken and rice? Like,
why do I need functional fuel?
Yeah, it doesn't matter right now. And that's just like the emotional loop you're stuck in now is like, what's the point? But we all know, as soon as you get cleared to go hit the gym again, it's all going to fall back into place, because that's who you are. You just can't be your true self right now. You get
I've had like this glimmer of the other side now, and it's like, oh man, you think like years of that.
And you could probably see how you could get like fall into a rut and
Oh,
a
God.
cycle.
And it's scary.
Like,
Yeah.
right? How easy that is.
It's like that show. I'm sure, like you as a dietitian, as a trainer, you watch this show, Fit to Fat to Fit, with the personal trainer that purposely makes themselves fat with their client. I can't imagine. Oh, goodness gracious.
I think in an aspect, though, that's great to go through for you because you probably have a lot more compassion now for folks that come in of chronic pain or injuries, and they're like, oh, I have a deeper feeling now, understanding of how you feel. Probably not even to that extent. Like some folks that have chronic back issues, like how do you function? Or just chronic diabetes, whatever it is, that's debilitating to some extent. That compassion can be healthy, make you a better person and trainer overall anyway. So that like you were saying, you've got a look on the other side now that I think is really beneficial.
So what do you think is the biggest, if you had to call it out, what's the biggest mistake that you see people making when it comes to nutrition?
Perfection. I think they come in with the idea of I have to eat perfect and there can be no hiccups if I want to see results. Okay. And I think that, like I said earlier, that ends up being more harmful than helpful. If you have the mindset of that any deviation from perfection means you don't have progress, then it has that all or nothing mindset of, oh crap, I had one Snickers, the whole week's blown, F it, I'm just gonna go have whatever I want to now. And that's where I would intentionally build in these meals, I don't like the word cheat meal, but these meals off track 2-3 times, based on how many times I need it. And 2-3 times a week of give yourself permission to not be perfect and see that you still have results. And once you realize that, and where it's the same thing earlier, when I do less, I have results. And then when they learn that, and they have comfort and they have peace in that, understanding, then that's a big door they can run through.
Is there ever anything like, as being a dietitian, where you're like, I think one of the biggest keys to anyone's success is like, what are you actually going to adhere to? For me, like, I just don't cook. I just don't do it. I don't like it. It's not that I can't, but it's just, I'd rather just eat like meals prepared for me.
Yeah.
Do you have clients like that just say, look, like I just want to like eat meal prep and drink protein shakes? Like, can I do that?
Yeah, for sure. And that's where it comes down more to what can your lifestyle allow? If you can't cook or you won't cook, I've got several of those. Then do you have the financial means to buy pre-cooked meals? Great. If not, you have to learn how to cook because you don't have a ton of options when it comes to that. You still got to get food in, and drinking smoothies all day and protein shakes isn't going to help your metabolism.
Right.
And so there's got to be a balance there of maybe let's look at where do you go off track most frequently? Is it lunch because you work in an office that doesn't have good food or you don't meal prep? So then let's work on maybe buying 5 meals a week that you can take to lunch when you're to control what you're doing there better. And then at dinner time, you have more freedom to do your DoorDash or whatever, do whatever you want to do that's still meeting some kind of needs.
Okay.
Jace, you work with a lot of different people, a lot of different environments. What about recess, coming on board with recess in the community here made sense to you?
Yeah, I love that question. One word would be just respect. I mean, because that branches out into respect for the gym, respect for the people that own it, respect for the equipment and everybody else in the gym. And this is the only gym I've been in where I can walk in and know I'm not gonna have to rack someone else's weight. It's gotta clean someone else's sweat off. I'm not gonna be bothered by someone. My girlfriend feels safe to work out here. Like it's a very safe, like it's a great place to be. It's all about, to me, it's about respect is what it comes down to. And I appreciate genuinely, and I talk about it to people that ask me, where do you go to work out? I'm like, you should come here because of this. And the fact that y'all, and I've even heard Taylor before say, hey, can you look at the cameras and see who left the weight on here so we can find him $50? I'm like, oh, thank God. I love that. Yeah. That keeps everyone accountable, and that makes me happy as a gym goer that does rack his weight and clean his stuff. And it's, as you go somewhere else, like I've been going to EOS Fitness down the street, and it's not as safe. I don't like going there as much, but it's a convenient for my girlfriend and I to go to together, and it's huge and it's not crowded, but there's never dumbbells where they should be, and it's never up anything down, and it's just the respect at recess is what brought me here and why I'm gonna stay. And even if I was 30 minutes away, like I'm still going for sure.
Appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to create or maintain, but it sure is worth it, you know. And for people like you and your girlfriend and every other member who really gets behind the culture and the values and what recess is all about, like it makes perfect sense. And like thanks for thanks for being here. Recess is the way it is because of folks like you. So
yeah, and it's also, again, we kind of touched on it at the beginning of the podcast. I'm really excited now that with all these branches in the new year here, we've been able to roll out our new VIP personal training, or rather our VIP membership. So, everyone that is a part of that membership gets access to you, everything in the dietitian world. They get access to the physical therapy, they get the personal training, and they get everything at Recess RX. I mean, that's a really cool program there's just set up for success here all under one roof, and it's
Dream team.
a great group of people that all, I certainly have a really high level of respect for.
Yeah. Same.
Jace, if you could talk to that 90-pound version of yourself, what would you tell him now?
Man, I'd say just keep going. I think there was a few times in there, obviously, where it was like, this sucks, this is hard. Is it worth it? Am I gonna actually see progress? Because when you do it right, it's slow, as you know. And it's like, if I look back and say, hey, you've gained 100 pounds and you did it, and good job. I'd be like, oh, cool, keep it up, man. And that'd be awesome. And it'd be encouraging to know it's not for nothing. And probably even tell myself too, hey, don't try to do too much. Just take care of you. Stick to your path. Don't try to get too broad. Just keep it controlled, and you'll be good.
For someone kind of like in the beginning of that, maybe that same journey, what's an easy change or an easy way to start? If you just kind of like, this really resonates with me, I'm on the beginning of this journey that he just talked about, and I just have no idea like what to start with. Like, do you have any tips for that person?
Yeah, I think kind of what I said earlier, I'd have to say, don't try to do so much so quick or at one time that it's overwhelming. It should be, what can you manage? Because again, when you don't grow in the gym, you grow when you rest. And if you're trying to say, I have to get bigger, that doesn't mean 7 times a week. It means 4 or 5 times a week, and really good sleep and stress management and nutrition. And I think if you focus on the basics, don't go so crazy with it that you get overwhelmed or you get confused. Stick to the basics, do what works well, and rest well, and I think you're going to have great progress. Give it time.
how important do you think it is understanding deeply, the 3 macronutrients and what their purpose and everything is in your diet?
Yeah. I think, to me, that reverts back to the hierarchy of nutrition, where you have the calories, of course, that determine weight, and the macros determine more of how you look. If you have high protein, high carb, lower fat, you're probably going to look more muscular and toned and dense, versus if you have higher fats and lower carbs. You're not going to hold carbs. You're not going to look as full muscularly and toned. You're going to probably look more soft. And so I think the piece of the macros alone are more about how you look at a basic level. And then from there, it's more into performance of, do you need carbs for your performance because you're working out with weights, or are you doing endurance? Like, are you doing high rocks, or are you doing running? You probably need more fat. So I think understanding how those different kinds of fuel and how they shape how you look and perform and even recover, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
I feel like I didn't really start seeing that until the last 5 years, where I would really notice a difference, even during a holiday season or something, where you're not tracking your food, you're not prepping for a show or something like that, and you're just kind of intuitively eating, and what are you eating more of, versus how do you look. And even though I'd had nutrition certs and had gone through this prep process a bunch of times, you're just kind of following the plan as close to a T as possible, and maybe you're not as connected with how you feel. You're not really paying attention to how that certain fuel is making you look, because you're on this long game process. So it's kind of crazy to think about, just even walking through daily life and holidays versus other stuff, and just seeing I'm eating all these carbs and fats and I look this way, or I'm eating all this other stuff and your calories might be the same.
Yeah, and it's funny too, and as a competitor you'd get this as well. A lot of times you come out of a holiday season like that because you already have the mindset of being somewhat in control, and you're like, I feel freaking good and I don't look fat and I have veins everywhere, and all of a sudden it's you get a bunch of carbs and you feel better. You fueled adequately without too much excess, and now you can go work out. And it's funny that even that sometimes can be that little bit of a shift. and a flip of like, oh, they're not bad. I just have to be more aware of them.
Yeah.
And I still feel good when I can just maintain myself, just a little bit of awareness and intentionality without being too strict.
It took years to find that balance.
Yeah.
It's actually shocking.
Yeah.
I love carbs.
Even for people that like have the know-how.
Yeah.
Sometimes it still takes such a long time to
Yep.
like find your personal like connection with like
Yes.
balance and adherence and all of that.
And usually the reason is because you're scared to try. And that's a big piece with my clients is trust me for a couple weeks. Usually 2 weeks is a good time frame of you're going to see and feel results if you're compliant. And trust me for 2 weeks. I want you to eat 300 grams of carbs on 4 days a week on your big leg and back days or whatever higher intensity days. And let's just see how you feel. They're like, oh my gosh, I felt great. I slept better. My mood was better. It's like,
Yeah.
there.
And I didn't get fat.
Yes, and you still lost 2 pounds. Like that's
great.
progress, mentally and physically. Like that's a huge change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so your company Fit for Him is kind of a fusion concept, right? Of like faith, food, fitness. How did that all come together for you?
Yeah, I think it was because with my life, and I'm a faith-driven person. I'm a man of faith, and when I felt called to go back to school to be a dietitian, at that moment it became, okay, this is a career path that I'm going to have to intertwine with faith because this was where it was leading me. And so, and I actually started in college because I was always a guy that was working out hard and it was growing. And I'd get guys in there like, hey, can you give me a workout to do? And it turned into, back when iPhone had a limit on how many you can add in one text, I had 11 groups of 10 people that I was going to work out to in Bible verse every single day for like 7 years. And
Wow.
7, 8 years. It was a long time. Wow. And over years they'd say, hey, can you take me off? And it would dwindle down. But then it got to where I'm like, hey, when Instagram came out, it's like, I'm just going to post workouts on Instagram. So I made a fitness page for that, my business page. And it was just workouts. That's all it was. And just the program itself, not even me doing it. And then they're like, hey, if you want to charge me for this, I'll start paying you. I was like, oh, this could be a business. And so then I made shirts. And then I walked into, where was it? The Arlington Metroflex, like the bodybuilder's gym. And my first time ever being there, and Brian Dobson, the guy that owns it's like, hey, do you compete? Like, no, I'm done. I competed seven years. I'm done. That's not my life anymore. And he's like, let me see your abs. He's like, we got a show in 2 months. I'm going to pay for you to get in. I'm going to give you a booth. You can do your stuff. And he's a Christian as well. And he's like, now when you get done, don't do legs today, but we're going to pose at the end. So I did legs. Like my mom was already set to do legs. Like I can't change it now. I'm already here. But then it was just such a surreal experience being in my underwear at Metroflex gym, surrounded by like the biggest guys on the Olympia stage, literally, and posing with Brian Dobson and those guys for an hour. And it was so much fun. And then I got into his show and I was competing and I had a booth and like, this is a thing. This is really growing. And with faith in my business, it's not anything that I force down anyone's throat. And I'm never going to push someone to say, you have to believe this, or if you're not a Christian or whatever, you can't be a client. It's more of, we set goals every 2 weeks and I'll say, hey, let's, for the sake of stress and mental and emotional health, and let's look at, do you want to do like meditation, prayer, reading, journaling? What do you want to do? What fits you? And then cool, let's do it. But I think it comes off more as how I approach people as far as respect and integrity. And then, so it's more of that, the faith aspect more shapes how I run my business, but it doesn't have to be so deep into it that it's forced upon anyone. And interesting too, I think y'all might have seen it too. Huberman just talked this past week about his own experience with that. And it's so fun to hear, because he said for the past, 20 years, he's like, there's been a piece missing. And then when he's like, I came to faith, and now he's like, there's a piece I cannot explain. I'm like, that's it, you get it. And sometimes it can be that simple as how it affects you as a person into what you say and what you do in your businesses. I'm more at peace with myself, and it comes off into everyone and everything else that you do. And that's just how I blend it in my business. It's just, that's my goal.
That's great.
Yeah, that is awesome.
That's really great.
When did you found Fit for Him?
Yeah, probably, I think 9 years ago.
Okay.
And for a while, it was just a side project. It was more of, I was taking on 3-4 nutrition clients, and I was sending all the workout programs out. And I was either in school or I was working as like the director in a hospital, and then part-time in another hospital on the weekends, and with the Dallas Stars, and getting my master's, and with my clients. I was like, I don't have time to do this much. And then finally, after hating the clinical setting long enough and just really getting thrown around and not respected in that sense, it was like, okay, I got to make a change for myself. And so I told myself, I'm going to intentionally grow my own business to, once I hit 20 clients, I'm going to leave the hospital. I'm going to go work somewhere else part-time. And then once I hit 40 clients, then I'm going to leave there completely. And then I'm going to work on just my thing in the stars. And then, so I gave it, I think it was a year. And when I was still working 3 different jobs, and I was like, okay, I hit my goal. And then I left. Then at my interview with the other hospital for part-time work, I said, I'm not going to be here forever. When my business grows enough, I'm going to leave. And then in 6 months, I left. And it kept working together. I think it was just that switch in my own mind of, you've got to take care of yourself. And you're not serving your own passion and serving your purpose when you're stuck in a hospital. And even though I still pray with patients sometimes, and I could still do that, but I was so restricted on what I could do nutritionally and like with a whole health aspect, rather than just like, here's your Ensure drink, here's your tube feed order. Like that's not my purpose. So.
Yeah.
That's a really cool story.
It's cool play on words too, the double meaning. The fit for him, I really like it. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's catchy.
Thank
really
you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
I used to see it when I was at Gold's Gym for a while. I did sales for them, and they had a fit for him on the board. And it was, of course, fit for guys. And I still get asked that too. It's like, just for men? Like, not everyone. It's just faith-based. And now it's funny because like I own the phrase fit for him, and like you can't use it. And if I see it again, I'll call him.
Thanks so much for coming on today,
thank you,
Jay.
Jace. It was great,
awesome
man.
Getting to know you better and learning your past and how you got here.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all. This was fun.
Absolutely.
And then if anybody wants to work with you, well, you know, obviously on Reset's website we have a special page for dietitian there. And then how does that work once they sign up with you, or once they get a consultation? How does all that work?
So anyone that's interested, even just to talk and hear more about what I do on a client basis, they can just reach out via email, and I'll contact you directly and set up a free consult. You get 30, 45 minutes, and I want to hear more about you and your history. And I'd say, here's what I would do with you. If you're my client, I would take this approach. And how does that sound? And if they fight it, whatever, it's like, hey, here's what science shows. Here's where we should go. How do you feel about that? And then it's up to them. So interested, want to know more, even just want to know next steps for yourself, just in a very broad sense, then reach out. I'm glad to help you out.
Sweet.
Do you want to drop your handle here so some of the listeners can follow you?
Oh yeah,
on Instagram?
My Instagram is FFH, fit for him, and that's my business one. I don't post there as much. That's more of just like I have results, but my personal one is my name, Jace Rhoden, where I post a lot of workout stuff and nutrition stuff.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank all y'all who came to watch this episode of Sandbox Sessions, and catch us wherever you get your podcasts at. You know, we're on Spotify, we're on everything, and that was awesome, man. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you all. This was fun. It's a wrap.
Cool.